Today, a vast expanse of industrial might and agricultural abundance, a state that stands as a microcosm of the American heart. But rewind 2 centuries, and this land was a crucible of raw forces, a place of clashing cultures, monumental ambition, and earth-shaking change. This is not a story of paradise, but of pressure, of a landscape squeezed between north and south, east and west, tradition and a desperate, driving future. It is a story written in black soil and prairie fire, in steamboat smoke and railroad steel, in the crash of axes and the impassioned roar of a courtroom. This is the story of Illinois in the 1800s, a state forged not by gentle evolution, but by relentless, unyielding force. Our story begins not with a single event, but with a profound and contested emptiness. The year is 1800. The land that will become Illinois is part of the Indiana Territory, a vast and vague frontier of the young United States. To the east, in the forested hills, a few thousand American settlers cling to river valleys. But this land is not empty. It is the ancient home of the Illiniwek Confederacy, whose name the state will bear, but who have been decimated by war and disease. In their stead, powerful nations hold sway. The Sauk and Meskwaki Fox, along the Mississippi River valleys, the Pottawatomie to the north, the Kickapoo in the central prairies. This is their world, a landscape of immense tallgrass prairie, a roaring, flower-strewn ocean of grass that can swallow a horse and rider, broken by gallery forests along the rivers. It is maintained by fire, both natural and set by native hands, to create grazing lands for bison and deer. The first American pioneers do not see a fertile garden, but a desert, an intimidating, treeless void they do not understand how to break. The first pivot point is not cultural, but geopolitical. In 1803, the Louisiana Purchase places the Mississippi River, Illinois' western border, entirely within American control. The river becomes a liquid highway. Then, in 1809, the Illinois Territory is carved out. The Great Magnet is the southern tip of the state, the region known as Egypt. Here, in the forested hills around Shawneetown and Kaskaskia, the first American society takes root. It is a society with a decidedly southern accent. Settlers from Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia bring their customs, their log cabin building techniques, and their enslaved black people. Illinois is a slave territory under the Northwest Ordinance of 1787. Technically, no. In practice, yes. Through a brutal loophole, French-derived indentured servitude contracts bind black men, women, and children for decades-long terms, effectively creating slavery by another name. The state's early identity is split at its root. A free state constitution debated in 1818 in a fever-ridden Kaskaskia, even as hundreds are held in bondage. The 1820s bring the first great clash over the land's soul. 2 charismatic Sauk leaders embody the choice. One is Keokuk, a skilled orator who advocates for accommodation with the swelling American tide, believing resistance is futile. The other is Black Hawk, a warrior who rejects treaties he sees as fraudulent, who holds to the old ways and who dreams of taking back ancestral cornfields. In 1832, pushed to starvation by settler incursions and the failure of the U.S. to honor annuity payments, Black Hawk leads around 1,000 Sauk, Meskwaki, and allies, including women, children, and elders, back across the Mississippi to plant corn in their old Illinois homeland. It is not an invasion, but a desperate attempt to return home. The panicked Illinois militia and eventually the U.S. Army see it as war. The Black Hawk War is a tragic, brutal affair. It lasts only 15 weeks. Most engagements are confused skirmishes, but the climax at the Bad Axe Massacre in Wisconsin is a slaughter, as U.S. troops and a steamboat-mounted cannon cut down men, women, and children as they try to flee back across the Mississippi. Black Hawk is captured. The war's political impact, however, is seismic. A young militia captain named Abraham Lincoln sees no combat, but later remarks on the many bloody struggles with mosquitoes. More importantly, the war shatters Native American power in Illinois. The last holdout tribes are forced to sign removal treaties. By the end of the decade, the state is, for the first time, virtually devoid of its original inhabitants. The land is now fully empty, ready for the plow. And the conflict also announces a new political star, a slick, ambitious lawyer and political operator who served as a commander, John A. McCleary. The path is clear for the next great force, the land speculator and the sod-busting farmer. Now the great human flood begins. The Erie Canal, completed in 1825, opens a faucet that cannot be closed. Yankees from New England, New York, and Ohio pour across the Great Lakes and down the new canal systems, settling the northern half of the state. They bring different ambitions, a belief in internal improvements, townships, colleges, and a deep antipathy to slavery. They meet the southern flowing current of upland Southerners, The friction is immediate, cultural, political, religious. The Northerners are Whigs and later Republicans. The Egyptians are Jacksonian Democrats. The state becomes a proxy battleground for the nation's future. To conquer the prairie, technology must catch up. The formidable sod, with roots knitted together for centuries, defies the wooden plows of the East. Then in 1837, in the town of Grand Detour, a blacksmith named John Deere forges a steel plow from a broken saw blade. It is polished, sharp, and it scours the sticky prairie soil clean as it cuts. It is a revelation. Suddenly, the desert blooms. The 1840s and 50s see the prairie transformed into the world's most productive farmland. Wheat then corn begin to flow east. But to get there, they need a way out. The next great transformation is wrought in iron and steam. Visionary politicians like Stephen A. Douglas push for a Illinois Central Railroad, a north-south line that will link Chicago to Cairo. It is a monumental undertaking, financed by Eastern and European capital, granted vast swaths of state land. Completed in 1856, it does more than move crops. It reorients the state's entire economy. Towns that are on the line boom, those bypassed wither and die. The railroad also brings the Industrial Revolution to the prairie. Chicago, a swampy trading post of a few hundred in 1830, explodes into a city of over 100,000 by 1860, a brutal, bustling, stinking metropolis of stockyards, grain elevators, and raucous commerce. It is the clenched fist at the end of the railroad arm, pounding the raw materials of the West into commodities for the East. All these forces, the sectional settlement, the slavery debate, the economic revolution, converge into a single national cataclysm. And Illinois, the most divided of the free states, is at its very heart. Southern Illinois, or Egypt, is fiercely pro-slavery and copperhead anti-war Democrat in sentiment. In 1863, riots erupt in Charleston when Union soldiers arrest a copperhead leader. Northern Illinois is ardently abolitionist, a hub of the Underground Railroad. The state's political leader is now Stephen A. Douglas, the Little Giant, architect of the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which inflamed sectional tensions. But his rival, the gangly, melancholic lawyer from Springfield who had debated him across the state in 1858, has risen to the ultimate office. Abraham Lincoln's presidency is Illinois' ultimate export to the nation. His every instinct, his lawyerly caution, his deep melancholy, his unwavering core belief that the Union must be preserved, is shaped by his life on this fractured frontier. The war strains Illinois to its breaking point. Over 250,000 men from Illinois serve in the Union Army, but in the southern counties, defiance simmers. The war's end does not bring peace to Illinois. On April 15, 1865, as news of Lincoln's assassination spreads, jubilation erupts in parts of Egypt. In the town of Jonesboro, a man is shot for expressing grief. The state, like the nation, is a raw, unhealed wound. Out of the war's ashes comes the next, gilded transformation. The Homestead Act, the Morrill Land Grant Act, and the demand to feed a shattered nation and a booming Europe unleash a second agricultural revolution. Illinois becomes the undisputed king of corn. The prairie, now fully tamed, is a geometric grid of fences, fields, and countless small towns connected by ever-expanding railroad spider webs. The state population soars past 3 million by 1880. Industry booms in Chicago, but also in Rockford, Peoria, and Moline. Cyrus McCormick's Reaper works move to Chicago, making it the farm implement capital of the world. The stockyards of Packingtown process millions of animals in an assembly line of death, immortalized in Upton Sinclair's The Jungle. This industrial colossus creates a new kind of human landscape, the immigrant city and the company town. Germans, Irish, Swedes, Poles, Czechs, and Italians pour into Chicago and the factory towns. They cluster in ethnic enclaves, creating vibrant, often squalid, pockets of the old world within the new. They provide the brute muscle for the machines. And they bring new tensions. The Great Railroad Strike of 1877 paralyses Chicago. The Haymarket Affair of 1886, a labor protest for the 8-hour day that ends with a bomb thrown at police, shatters the nation and brands Chicago as a nest of anarchist terror. The Pullman Strike of 1894, led by the fiery American Railway Union leader Eugene V. Debs, another son of Illinois, will see federal troops crush a nationwide railway boycott, confirming the immense power of corporate capital aligned with the state. Yet, even amidst the smoke and strife, a different kind of Illinois spirit asserts itself. It is the spirit of Jane Addams, who in 1889 opens Hull House in a filthy immigrant neighborhood of Chicago, creating the template for the American settlement house movement and social work. It is the spirit of the innovators, Philip Danforth Armour and Gustavus Swift revolutionizing food distribution. Richard Sears and Alva Roebuck using the railroad and postal service to bring consumer goods to every farmhouse. It is the spirit captured in the architecture of Louis Sullivan and the young Frank Lloyd Wright, who begin to imagine a new, uniquely American form rising from the prairie. The century closes not with a clear resolution, but with a state of colossal, contradictory power. Illinois stands as the nation's transportation hub, its breadbasket, its industrial forge, and its political battleground. It has perfected the modern factory farm and given birth to the modern skyscraper. It is the state that produced the president who saved the Union and the city that gave the world the spectacle of industrial slaughter. Its landscape has been utterly inverted, from a place maintained by fire to one dominated by the grid, from a Native American crossroads to a Euro-American empire. The 1800s closed with Illinois as a finished prototype of 20th century America, technologically triumphant, racially divided, explosively wealthy, and socially turbulent. The unyielding prairie had been conquered, but in the process, it had created forces of unimaginable energy and friction. The soul of Illinois was no longer a question of landscape, but of what humanity built upon it, and whether that colossal engine of progress could be made to serve all the people who fueled its fire. The quiet of the grassland was gone, replaced forever by the din of the city, the whistle of the train, and the restless, striving, contentious voice of a modern world.